Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of In the Mind of Dame. Welcome back, another episode, another week. We back once again. I've been consistent, bruh. Clap it up for your boy just one time, like silent clap over the AirPods or whatever you listen to it on. But what's good, everybody? Hope everybody's having a great, lovely week so far, man. Hope everybody's having a good time. Black History Month coming to an end, but it's Black History all year for the rest of our lives, bro. So shout out, man. Great month of just celebrating Black history and everything like that. I've been reading a lot of books recently, as y'all know. And I think Women's History Month is next month. So I was in Books a Million a day trying to see what book should I get for next month. So thinking about running a quick poll on that, see which ones I should get, from women authors. I was thinking about Diary of Anne Frank. I seen some other books. It's like in the banned book session or BAM. I just thought we could get some good reads in. See if y'all was interested in trying to read along with your boy. I'm trying to promote more reading. I think as a society we need to read more. You know what I'm saying? So, me, I've been definitely getting my words in and my pages in for sure. I'm looking at the books like I got right now. I got 5 books, including one ebook, like that I'm pretty much wrapping up. Which I am going to talk about a little bit of that book because I did start a new book. I finished If Bill Street Could Talk. I don't know if I had finished it last pod. No, I finished it recently. Amazing book. Absolutely amazing book because I finished it Sunday. Absolutely amazing book. Shout out to James Baldwin. An amazing book. Has a movie with it. The book is pretty traumatizing, so I don't know if I could sit through the movie just because of the way the book ended and everything. But it's a beautiful story about Tish and Fonnie. They're in a relationship, and Fonnie gets wrongly accused of raping somebody. And it just covers the story of their love, the trials and the tribulations and the injustice of African Americans in this country. And yeah, just seeing the family just going through it and trying their best to keep hope alive and their love just trying to conquer it. And, Tish is also pregnant. It's a beautiful story. I would highly recommend. So I definitely will be checking out more Jane Baldwin books in the future. Quick week recap, man. I did a lot this past week. I think I definitely did a lot. This past week. First thing I would highlight, shout out to my boy Justin JD, who, bruh, he played me some new crank, so I know bruh got some heat on the way. But I pulled up on him, and we listened to the new Baby Keem Casino album. We're gonna do a review on that, but for sure, definitely had a good time linking up with my boy, seeing his place, man. It was a good time. Nice little drive though to Silver Spring, but it was cool though. It was cool. Saturday, I went to go see the Steph Curry basketball movie, GOAT. I actually like that movie. I don't really watch many kid movies. I feel like the last kid movie I watched was when Inside Out 2 came out. So since then, any new kid movie that's been in the theaters, I haven't checked it out. Cause I don't know. It's not, I don't know. It's just not as interesting of a watch as it was, compared to when I was a kid and everything like that. But definitely for sure, I thought Go was amazing. I feel like watching that movie is funny, kind of seeing, I think, a depiction of a kid trying to chase his dream in basketball, because it feels like, as growing up as a basketball fan, it feels like we all have the same story, watching your favorite player and wanting to become them. And just all, like, I think there's so many like hidden things that, being a fan of basketball, you just catch that it's like Steph Curry just kind of like help sprinkle into the movie, like, hey, add the character doing this or show them doing this or something like that. It was really a dope movie, man, for sure. Even the way that they depicted a team owner being somebody who's just all about the money, don't really care about it. Then you have the star player who wants to improve the roster and is just like, yo, we need to improve the roster. You know what I mean? And watching the team owner and the player go back and forth about how can we increase the odds of winning a championship, the owner caring about the ticket sales, and just other many little things that I think the movie kind of put in there that I think as a basketball fan was really dope. Like somebody getting dunked on and you just seeing them, seeing social media go crazy and just the narratives and everything like that be happening on when it comes to basketball. So it was a really dope movie. I think it was a really, really dope movie, man. I think on Letterboxd, I damn near gave it like a 9 out of 10. You know, for a children's movie, I was thoroughly entertained for sure. And then speaking of basketball, Sunday, my dad's birthday is on this upcoming Saturday. But this past Sunday, I took him to the Wizards and Hornets game. Me, my brother, my mom, my dad, my niece, and my brother's girlfriend. We all went to see the Wizards and Hornets play. And man, what an experience, bro! What an experience to go to the game. We had really good seats. We were sitting on like 117, and pretty close to the court. Like there was like a section right in front of us where people were eating dinner and watching the game, so that was definitely lit. Watching LaMelo play in person, man, what an experience. I mean, I watched this man put up 37 points and 10 threes in like 3 quarters. I don't even think he touched the floor in the fourth. Brandon Miller and Con Knipple, like, the Hornets got a squad over there. They dominated the Wizards. The Wizards is interesting. I don't watch many Wizards games because they're just not good. But man, no Alex Sarr. It was a rough defensive watch for the Wizards. It felt like a lot of two-way guys got on the floor. Bilal Coulibaly had 17 points in the first quarter and didn't even touch the floor in the second, and then maybe played a couple minutes in the third. It was so weird. I seen guys who I forgot was still in the league. Bro, Xavier Tillman checked in the game for the Hornets. I was like, what the hell? I was like, I didn't know bro was still in the league. I saw Sharif Cooper playing for the Wizards. It was so random. It was some of the most random shit I've ever seen. But an experience of a lifetime. My dad had a great time. That's all that mattered. It felt great to do something for him. I feel like my dad, he deserves the world. He's such a great dad and an amazing man. So it was nice to be able to take him out and do something like that for his birthday. And that was pretty much it for this week. I got a good amount of topics. I started a new book, The Will to Change by Bell Hooks, and there's so many beautiful notes in that book that I have. So once I finish it for real, I'll definitely have more fleshed out thoughts. Before we get started into the topics of the show, I just wanted to kind of highlight some things I am planning on doing in terms of just trying to grow the community, grow the podcast, whatever. I know a lot of people who listen, and it ain't many people, just being honest, but I know people who listen. Everybody has different interests, hobbies, and stuff like that. And I do feel like sometimes I do kind of come onto the show and I kind of just ramble about what's on my mind because it's in the mind of Dane. But I do want to get you guys more involved in terms of topics and what you guys are interested in. So weekly now, I want you guys to send in questions or topics if there's any advice I could give, or if there's anything, in NFL, NBA, any segments you guys want, whether you guys want me to talk about NBA, any storylines in the NBA you guys want to talk about, pretty much anything. If I kind of have any type of knowledge about it, I can check out, as a community, we can watch the show together and I can come on here and review it and we can chop it up. So I definitely am going to try to get more involved with bringing you guys involved into it. So I am going to try to start doing like a community like Q&A where I'm just going to kind of post a story, especially on the In the Mind of Dame Instagram page. So try to follow the page because I am going to start posting more and being more active on there to kind of just keep the pod business over there, grow the community over there. And also, if you guys send a question and I do it for a topic, I'll give you a shout out on the pod, man. So make sure to follow the Instagram page In the Mind of Dame on there. Follow the personal page at that xboyxdame. That's pretty much where all the news and communication is going to happen. Like I said, my goal is to be more active on that page. Definitely get more posts up on there. So for sure, just be on the lookout for the community Q&A. It allows you guys to, be a part of the show. And I just want you guys to at least hear a topic that you guys are interested in. I love sports. I am big on NFL, NBA, lifestyle and everything like that. Books, you guys know I'm a more active reader now. So just try to find a way to try to get involved into the community, man. I think at least starting off with a cool Q&A or at least sending in topics is a good start to kind of get you guys more involved into the show. But let's go ahead, let's get started, man. First topic, I kind of talked about it earlier. Baby Keem, new album Casino. A new album. I thought this album was the first listen for me was a little weird. You know what I mean? I guess for me, I didn't have. I don't want to say I didn't have any expectations. I think the biggest thing I had in terms of expectations was I think just the content of it. You know what he was going to talk about, and I feel like maybe through the first listen, I guess the content piece of it wasn't as um it wasn't as present as I thought it would have been. And then after that, more listens, I definitely felt like it was definitely more in there for sure. I think sometimes if there's not, when there wasn't songs about his family life and him growing up and everything like that, it can feel like he's kind of just rapping just to rap. You know what I mean? But I think I've already been so accustomed to that with Baby Keem. So I guess for me, I think the first listen, I was like, okay, maybe he won't be doing it like that on this album. And he still kind of did it, but it was kind of a good mix. I do feel like now, after listening to the album a good amount of times, there was a good mix in that. I love hearing his story. You know, I mean, his story, it's a rough one. You know what I mean? The strained relationship with his mother, and I know she had her own personal struggles and growing up in poverty and everything like that, moving from Long Beach to Las Vegas. You know, he lived a rough life, and I think the way he kind of told some of those moments in his album, from songs like "I Am Not a Lyricist," Highway 95 Part 2, "No Blame," "No Security." I think those songs, he really did a great job of just kind of just painting the picture for you. I think sonically, the production on here to me is really great. I actually do kind of like what he chose to do sonically. I thought "Good Flirt." I thought, I know people have been killing the Kendrick feature. It's dope to me. I think Baby Keem allows Kendrick to just be his goofy self and to not be so serious. And this is just another version of Kendrick, I think, just kind of just, I don't know, just letting loose, just having fun. Circus Freestyle, I thought was amazing. Dramatic Girl, I thought was super dope. Sex Appeal, it wasn't my favorite song first listen, but man, that beat is crazy. The drums on there, it was really it was really dope. I think "No Security" and "Casino," I thought both of those songs were absolutely heat. "House Money," the energy on some of these songs were really great. "I Am Not a Lyricist," it's funny, he would have had me fooled because he rapping his ass off on that one. So I will say, like, I think he did a good job. It was short and sweet. I thought it was going to be a little bit longer because "Melodic Blue" is a bit of a longer album, but he did a great job. I think for what his intention was, I thought him including the documentary into the rollout, it made it a fun, enjoyable listen. I think you have the elements of Baby Keem that I think makes his music so fun. The voice inflections, the flows, the production, all of that is still there. And I think when you mix in, a personal story, I feel like we learned a lot about Baby Keem in this album. You learned a lot, and I think that's important. I feel like 2-3 albums in, it feels like you don't know who Keem is. You hear the great music, you hear the flows, you hear the voices, but do you know who Keem is? And I think this album did a great job of kind of telling his story, and I think he did a great job with it. I think he was completely himself in the album. He didn't steer away from what's got him to this point sonically, and yeah, man. If I had to rate it, I would say like a 8 out of 10. I would say for me, it hasn't got the same amount of spins or replay value from me like the Fall Off has, like Don Toliver's album has, like Don't Be Dumb has. I would say it would probably be closer to Don't Be Dumb than it would be the Fall Off or the Don Toliver album for me. Just trying to keep up with my album of the year rankings. I would say right now it's kind of in that same area of Don't Be Dumb. Like, I think those two I would have a hard time picking between, like which one I like more. But I would still say, like, I like Fall Off more and I like Octane more. Another album that dropped this week that I checked out was Larry June, Currency and the Alchemist, Spiral Staircases. I really feel like there's not much to talk about on this album. I feel like it's Larry June, it's Currency rapping over Alchemist beats, rapping about getting money, rapping about getting high, fucking bitches, being a fly nigga. That's what they rap about. You know what I mean? And I feel like they do that at such a great level, at such a high level already. You put Alchemist production over them, both guys that worked with Alchemist throughout their career. So I think it's just good raps over good production. I think that's just baseline, just how I see it. One song I would definitely say, or two songs I would definitely say, one of them is Drive Alone. I thought that is, to me, just the prototypical Alchemist and Larry June vibe. They did a really good job on that track. And another one I liked is Empty Pages. Alchemist gets a verse on there. I think Alchemist is a really good rapper. When he gets on his own beats and raps, like I listened to the Genuine Articulate a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. But when it first came out, I couldn't put it down. Like the production on there was great. His rapping was great. Even I listened to the album Goldfish with him and Hit Boy, and great production from both of them. Great rapping. Hit Boy's a great rapper too. So it's just been fun to listen to, those, Alchemist get on beats, especially his own beats and rap. Because he really is a dope rapper. And I think him getting on Empty Pages, that beat was super dope. But yeah, Everything Allocated I thought was another good track. That was the single off of there. So I definitely got some tracks I'll definitely go back to. I think as a project as a whole, it's kind of short. It's like 7 songs, not even 30 minutes. So not too much there. But definitely is a fun listen if you kind of like that sound of music. I thought it was dope. Staying on music, J. Cole, I think he's finally wrapping up the Trunk Sale. I kind of stopped following along with it a little bit, just because he was just moving so much and it was just new videos coming out all the time. And I'll be honest, like I think what he did with the Trunk Sale, I thought was a really dope thing. I think for me, and I'm gonna just be vulnerable for a second. I remember going out to DC to try to meet him, and I ain't gonna sit here and lie. I definitely downplayed it when I dropped the episode after I did that and reviewed it. But I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of in my feelings. I'm gonna be honest, because yes, I didn't grow up the biggest J. Cole fan, but the Fall Off to me is such a good album. Like, and if you know me, I have been very critical of Cole over the years. The Fall Off is really good. Like it's really good. Like it's great. I'm gonna be honest. It's great. I think I'm comfortable saying it's my favorite album from Cole ever. I think this is, to me, is his best work. And I feel like for me, the biggest reason why I wanted to meet him had nothing to do with clout or just getting that moment for social media. I really just wanted to meet him to say, yo, the body of work that you spent years and years making, you did it. Like, you did it. You accomplished it. And I really felt like, for me, it would have been really dope to give him his flowers about this project. Maybe the rest of his career, I probably couldn't speak too much on, just because, like I said, I've been critical. You know what I mean? But, and it's not to say I didn't like him. It was just to say I don't have the same love and admiration or hold them in the same regard that I know his diehard fans do, So not being able to meet him, it sucked, right? You know what I mean? But when I do see the videos and the clips of, I think, him going around the country and him receiving all of this love and people getting to tell the stories of how much his music has meant to them, I think is the beauty of the Trunk Sale. Like, I seen a lot of videos I seen one dude, there was a clip of a dude, he got to tell Cole, like, hey, I had a friend who listened to your music. He was a huge fan of your music. Like, he was waiting for your new album, and he passed away. And I had another friend of mine drove to his gravesite to play him the album. And I think for me, that's such a dope thing that young man got to tell with J. Cole. And just other moments, people getting to play him his music, just to tell him how much he means to them. Those are the people that's more deserving to meet Cole than I am. So I definitely let that go, for sure, of like being kind of upset I didn't get a chance to meet him and I missed him. But to see people who I know really truly deserve to have met him and get a chance to give him his flowers presently, like, that's what Quick Stop was all about. You know what I mean? I think we're kind of watching quick stop happen with him going around the country doing the trunk sale thing. You know, people are going to say whatever, like, oh, he's fake humble. I just don't read that much into it. I think for him, everything regarding the fall off is for J. Cole. Everything. This album was more for himself, to prove to himself that he still got it, or that he wanted to reach the upper echelon of his writing ability to deliver an album like this. And I think he did it. I think the whole trunk sale idea, it wasn't for... It was for us as fans, yes, to, you know, get a chance to be up close and personal with J. Cole. But it's more for him because he was like, yo, I get to go back and do like how I used to do back in the day and sell CDs out the trunk. And the only complaint I have about it was just that, and I guess there's kind of no way to really do it, because even if he kind of try to plan out having like a little setup in DC or whatever the hell he was going, and being able to do that, it does suck that I do feel like a lot of people didn't get a chance to do it because we live normal lives. So like, even for me, like, I happened to just get off work at the right time and have nothing to do after I got off, to where I had enough time to just be like, fuck it, I'm gonna just take the drive out to DC, and if I luck into meeting him, it'll happen. You know what I mean? And it didn't. But, you know, I know a lot of people that probably just couldn't just get up and leave work and just go to Howard or go to the city to try to meet Cole. So, you know, but I'm happy Cole gets to have these moments. You know, these are moments. I think this whole thing that he's been doing, you know, and he's about to go on tour, I think this whole thing he's been doing around the country, I think for him, these are things he'll never forget. And for some of these fans who have been fans of Cole for the whole duration of his career since day one, and the young man who got to tell Cole about his friend passing away, the people who got a chance to ride in the Honda with him and listen to the album, you know, these are moments that these people never forget. And these are people that, you know, even if I was a little hurt that I didn't get a chance to at least be up close and personal with somebody who is a top 3 rapper, and he happened to be in the city, you know, it sucks, yes, for sure. But some of those people truly deserve that moment to speak to him. And I'm happy he was able to give those fans that, give the people that. And I'm happy he got to really hear the stories, because I think sometimes you can probably hear, man, your music meant so much to me, but he got to really hear and see and witness real life people who, because of his art, it changed their life. It made an impact on them. And I think that's beautiful, honestly. I really do. I can't even hate on it. So shout out to Cole. Them Cole tickets a little high. I definitely didn't catch the pre-sale because he dropped it. He dropped like, yeah, y'all, I'm going on tour. Tickets on sale tomorrow. So, and bro, I work at Walmart, brother. Like, I can't just drop everything I'm doing to or just pull money out of nowhere to go buy tickets. So if I end up going, I end up going. But I really do wish I could have got a ticket for the cheaper, because if I buy one now, whoo, them shits is through the roof, my boy. Them shits is through the roof. All right, let's keep it going. Next topic I have, and this is kind of just like a little bit of something that I'm opening up about a little bit, and maybe this could kind of help people in a way. So we're gonna talk about it. So I came across a TikTok, and it was a dude who said, "Are you the type of person who, when you listen to music, you imagine that you are the person who wrote the song, and you imagine yourself performing it or whatever? Like, you basically are the person who wrote the song that you like, and you get to perform it. You get all the accolades for it. Do you daydream that?" And it was so interesting because, in full blown honesty, I do that all the time. I've done that for, and it sounds funny to say, I've done that for To Pimp a Butterfly a million times. I really can daydream and imagine that I wrote my favorite album of all time and I'm going to perform it. And just having been the artist who created something as great as that. I did it recently. I've been cranking Alone at Prom. Like, it just came out yesterday recently, and I almost started imagining, like, well, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't start imagining. I literally started daydreaming, just, man, like what would I look like performing it, or literally me being the one that wrote it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy how vivid my daydreams can get, because I could damn near start daydreaming about me being on the Joe Budden podcast talking about this shit. And it was really interesting that somebody and so many people have that same issue, because then I went to the comment section and people were like, oh, I'm getting my Grammy right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was really dope. It's just like, yo, like, I thought I was literally like the only person. And the person kind of said, if that is the case, you might have a fragmented sense of self where you feel like you have to accomplish something so great and so outlandish and to be so excellent and famous that you feel like this is what you have to do to feel worthy, or to feel like, no, like to feel not shameful and everything like that. And I think in a way it was easier to kind of be like, that's an interesting way to look at it. But then I looked it up and it was kind of something along the lines of maladaptive daydreaming, which wasn't exactly what he was describing to a T. But maladaptive daydreaming is you daydream so much that it's excessive, and it can be really vivid, that it kind of starts to interfere with your daily life or your relationships or whatever. It just, you just spend so much time daydreaming. And I never kind of recognized it, but then I think for some reason I kind of started to see that I think I kind of do. You know what I mean? And I think it did kind of start with that nugget of, hey, like, do you daydream about being the composer or the songwriter or the artist of your favorite album or your favorite songs, and you daydream about performing them and being the one that did everything? Like, I really started to do that. And I think for me, I think I could start to see a world in which it was kind of like a fragmented sense of self, because I think I can daydream about a lot of things. I daydream a lot, because I think, especially, I work at Walmart and I do pickup and everything like that, and we just walk all day, and like, all I do all day is walk and listen to music or listen to a podcast. And I think I just, because it's so much movement, I feel like I literally sometimes could be dissociating into like a daydream, and that helps me get through the shift, because I'm just daydreaming about this podcast getting off the ground, or daydreaming about me being where I want to be at in life. You know what I mean? Daydreaming about me having the lifestyle and in the life I want to live. And I can make those daydreams so vivid that I think once I'm snapped out of it for real, it kind of does hinder any type of progress, because I think I'm thinking about a goal from that daydream and accomplishing that, and recognizing where I'm at now and saying, holy shit, that feels far as hell. You know what I mean? Instead of, I think, kind of just living in the present and kind of just, I think, just being okay and feeling like I am worthy and okay now, that I don't need to have to be X, Y, and Z famous, or have the biggest podcast in the world, or the biggest song, or the biggest album in the world, to feel like to feel like who I am is good enough, that good things can happen to me as is. You know what I mean? So I think for me, what I started kind of carrying from that moment, once I kind of heard that, and then I kind of started thinking about how often I daydream and everything like that. And I think what happens is, and I think how I'm planning to go about life from this point forward, is I think I have to accept my current position in life, where I am today. I have to accept where I am today. I think the daydreaming comes in because I think that I've worked so hard to not be where I am today, in terms of still working at Walmart, or feeling like I haven't accomplished much, that I feel like getting lost in the daydream and thinking about that and saying, well, I am taking these kind of steps to work towards these things, it kind of helps out. But I haven't truly accepted hey, this is where you are now. So where do we kind of go from here? And I'm still kind of operating from the daydream mindset. You know what I mean? And it's a very complex way to look at things. And I do overthink. And I think the thing is because I've become so much more knowledgeable about the world, and I have so many different varying points of views about the world and the climate of the world. Just even existential questions I have, like how the hell did we get here? Like if you really want me to be honest, bro, like I damn near just feel like we're in a simulation. I feel like I just got dropped into a simulation, and now that I kind of notice everything around me, how it's manufactured, the infrastructure of the world, all these things, government, politics, you name it, I think it just kind of leaves me feeling lost, right? Because now I'm like, okay, well, I was operating under these set of thoughts and ideas of this is how life should go. And now I'm kind of like, well, nope, because I did that and it didn't work. You know what I mean? So now what? And I think that's kind of what I mean when I say I'm kind of learning to accept that this is where I'm at, is just kind of being like, okay, this is who you are today. You're a young man. You're still living at home. You still work at Walmart. What's what can we do from here, from this framework? And I think what happens is, instead of me having this idea of dreaming big, what I'm starting to do now, and I think this has kind of started to help me and work for me, is I'm setting these very small, attainable goals that help me feel good. You know what I mean? Me looking at my bank account and seeing that I'm saving money, it might not be $1 million in there. It might not be thousands of dollars in there. But to see that I am actively saving money is a W, because it lets me know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. The amount of books I have read and the amount of reading I do, I am proud of myself, just because at least where I'm at now, I'm taking daily steps to grow more, to gain more knowledge, and to be smarter, to learn how to be more well spoken. Like there's literally no disadvantage to reading. You know what I mean? It helps me stay in tune and be able to have other conversations with people. Shout out to my man's Matt. You know, I talked to him about books here and there. You know, he was the one that put me on the If Bill Street Could Talk, and I texted him right after I finished, like, yo, this book was great. Appreciate it. You know what I mean? So it's, you know, I've been on book TikTok recently, you know, and getting book recommendations from there and being able to hear people's thoughts on the books I've read, you know. I think that's helped me out, and feel, it helps me feel good. I have been consistently in the gym. Like dead ass, I've been in the gym consistently for the last 2 months. You know what I mean? I can see physical changes to my body. I feel like I look healthier. I feel like I feel healthier. I'm lifting probably some of the most weight I've lifted in quite some time. You know what I mean? And that feels good. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get this job at the dispensary, and this is me pivoting into a industry, the cannabis industry, that is new, it's exciting, and it could be somewhere, it could be a field that I could really grow and rise the ranks in to make real money. Taking the small steps by just posting this podcast episode every week, and now trying to find out, okay, we can probably get a little bit more active on socials to try to grow the community a little bit more. I think these little steps would be helping, especially just to accept where I am today. Because whenever I'm accomplishing shit and I'm doing things I'm supposed to be doing, it feels a lot better. You know what I mean? It feels a lot better to kind of carry on day to day, because it helps me feel more confident to know, hey, the shit I'm supposed to be doing, I'm supposed to be doing. And because I'm doing these things, I'm becoming a well-rounded, more intelligent, more confident human being. I'm feeling like I'm better presenting myself to the world now by just doing the little things every day. That's going to help me become a better person and help me get to the place I want to be. You know what I mean? So just those small W's that are super attainable, they start to add up. They start to compound. I think that's what Atomic Habits is all about, is having habits and routines that you do them joints for long enough, whatever is the big dream you have, it's kind of just going to have to come, right? Like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's guaranteed or whatever. You know what I mean? Like if I write 5 songs a day and then I'm writing 6 songs, it doesn't mean I'm going to have a top 10 album of all time, even if that's my dream, right? But what I'm saying is just that you're just going to naturally just becoming more and more of the person you want to become if you just are stacking up the small W's day by day by day. And it helps you feel more confident. And I think another thing that's kind of helped me I think just be more accepting of who I am right now and where I'm at in life is I think just the gratitude I have. You know what I mean? I seen a TikTok recently where somebody says you should be doing 2 things for yourself every week to break the monotony up of your routine. You know, whether that's going to the movies and going to a day spa or some shit. Like you should be doing 2 things a week that is just fun and for your mental health, so that you don't feel like you're just living your life every day for a job. You know what I mean? Like, and I felt that 100%. So for me, you know, I link up with the bros once a week. We all have the AMC Stub membership, and we all link up to go to the movies once a week and go check out a new film. And it checks off so many boxes. I'm still in tune because I love film. I'm in tune with the movies that's coming out and what's going on in the film industry. So when the award season comes around, I'm kind of hip. And just I think film is a great art form. I think just having time with my friends, my brothers, because me and my bros, we thick as thieves, and I know a lot of people don't get to see their friends as often as I do, and I'm really grateful for that. I have a great mom, a great dad, a great friend support system. I love my coworkers, even though I hate the job. You know, I have great things in life that I'm truly happy to have because I know some people who don't even have the stuff I do have, and they might have the things I don't have. You know what I mean? And would want to trade that any day for what I have, you know, and say, I would get rid of all this money if I had just what he has. So, and there's some people that don't have none of it. You know what I mean? They have nothing, you know? So it's been great to even enjoy the, the things that I do have because they're not little things. You know what I mean? Of course, we all want more, you know, that's just how we are. But, you know, there's beauty in being able to see my parents every day. There's beauty in having friends who I can still call and text, and it's not just a link up every blue moon. You know, we really get to spend time with each other still to this day. You know what I mean? Because there's gonna be a time in the future where niggas is really gonna start moving away and moving around and shit, and I ain't gonna have the same accessibility that I have with them now. A couple years from now, you know, and I'm gonna be waiting. I'm gonna be wishing like, oh damn, man, I wish we all lived in Maryland again. So I mean, I definitely, like I said, I'm just trying to appreciate life a little bit more. And of course, I know there's always gonna be days where I'm gonna be down and still feel kind of disappointed in, you know, my current situation. And of course, there's still gonna probably be moments where I'm daydreaming about the next big goal or the big dream that I feel like will make life I guess worth it, you know. But I think, you know, I think this coming to terms with where I am today and trying to stack up the W's to kind of just work towards something. It definitely, you know, gives me something to be more confident about, you know, just because I want to present myself to the world better. You know what I mean? So that's just something I was thinking about and just hoping to, you know, help anybody else out there that might be struggling in that same boat of just maybe not being too happy about where you want to be. And I just think that, you know, rather than looking at this big ass goal of something completely like a 180 of your current situation, man, just think about something that would be 1% better. You know what I mean? What's something that could be 2% better? What's something that's small that's, you know, maybe it's step 1, but now it's step 1.1. You know, it might take little mini steps in between there to get to the next step that you probably will be more proud of. But stack up the little steps in between there that will get your shit rocking for real. All right. Next topic, what we got here? Uh, kind of want to do more NBA talk because I do keep up with the NBA pretty weekly. I watch the night recaps. I don't really look at the numbers and stats and everything like that. I think the standings. I watch a couple basketball podcasts here and there, and usually late off the late night now. I've been definitely just watching hoops. So definitely been keeping up with the league. So, like I said, when we do the community Q&A, if anybody out there is an NBA fan and you want me to talk about something from the NBA or NFL coming up, tap in. I can whip up a topic, or y'all can throw topic suggestions out there, and I can do a little bit of research to talk some shit. You know what I'm saying? But NBA this week, I would say for me, as of right now, I really, like I said, I don't watch too many games just because the NBA is just a revolving door every single day. There's so many games every night. There's no way I could possibly watch every single one. But I will say for me, I usually watch the national televised games, and I do have League Pass. So most of the teams I do like to watch San Antonio. If San Antonio's playing, I usually will watch unless they're playing like some bum ass team. I like to watch the Pistons. I think they have a great defense. I love watching Cade. The Knicks, just because I think they're an interesting team, and they play in the Garden, so sometimes just that atmosphere of the of the Knicks is fun to watch. Cleveland, I try to get in a little bit more Cleveland, especially because they got James Harden. I've been watching a lot of Hornets lately. They're just a fun team to watch. Sometimes the Rockets, depending on who they play. And that's pretty much it. The Lakers, to me, they're not a fun team to watch just because, I'm watching LeBron get older. In some games, he plays well, and there's some games where he doesn't play as well. Luka, sometimes he's just unwatchable. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think he's a great player, but I think his lack of defense, it really does kill me to watch. Uh, and who else, bro? Who else? Who else? Who else? Boston, I'm trying to get around to watching more of. JB's having like an MVP type of year, so I've been definitely trying to get back around watching them. The Nuggets, I don't watch much of just because they usually play later. Most of the time, they usually get to 10:30 game, and I'm sorry, I don't find them entertaining to watch. Great team, Jokic, amazing player, Jamal Murray, amazing player. They just to me, I don't know. It's not a fun brand of basketball to watch. So like I said, two of the teams I kind of mentioned in League Pass, I like to watch. The Pistons and the Spurs played, and I thought that game was absolutely fanatic. I think Detroit is like a hesitant one seed where they have the best record and they are playing the best basketball, but they do feel like we gotta see what they do come playoff time because I think people just don't believe in them yet. And Detroit isn't short of their flaws, right? I think they're a tough defensive team. They really do a great job on the defensive side of the ball. Cade is their offensive engine, but they don't have much shooting and shot creating outside of Cade. Where it's, I don't want to say it's Cade or die, but Cade has to touch the ball almost every possession for them to get offense. If Cade is not on the floor, they could probably hold the team to some points, to only a little bit amount of points. But their offense, it can get a little shaky without Cade on the floor. But he's a great player, and they play the Spurs, and it was a great game. It was a great game. Both defenses came out to play. You saw some great offensive play from some guys. I thought Devin Vassell, oh my God, was he a beast shooting the ball? They made it tough for Wemby. They were very physical with him. I thought Stephon Castle, watching that game, I think I gained a newfound respect for Stephon Castle because that Detroit team was physical with him and he matched it right back. He had no fear, and he's just a great all around player for them. And the Spurs ended up winning. Wemby had 6 blocks. You know what I'm saying? He struggled a little bit offensively. They made it tough for him, but it's Wemby, so you can only hope to contain him at best. Um, so yeah, definitely a great game. Um, I would say for me, after watching the game, I think the Spurs are here to play. I really think they are here to play. I think this is a team that I think people might have concerns about their age, but you know, we kind of went into the season kind of saying, "Oh, the Spurs are going to be nice in a couple years." I think the Spurs are nice now, and I think this team is so good and that they can they could win the championship. Like, is that my pick? No, but if the Spurs win the championship this year, I wouldn't be surprised. And I think Wemby is already in the conversations that he should be in. You know, he is one of the best players in the league. He's I almost want to say it right now. I think he's the best defensive player I've ever seen in my life. He just is such a rim deterrent. You just can't teach that. Like, you literally just cannot teach how good he is on the offensive side of the ball. You cannot teach how good he is at blocking and throwing shots off. He's just so good at that. And these guys who I felt like were expendable if Giannis was to be moved, bro, every night a guy just steps up and just plays like, wow. I think Keldon Johnson, he does such a great job off the bench. I've seen games where Julian Champagne knocked down 9 threes. You know what I'm saying? Devin Vassell, he went out there, he killed. They have Dylan Harper coming off the bench. He can score, he can play make. He's a guy that he's going to be a problem, you know, in the future for real, for real. They still got De'Aaron Fox, and he's still a 20-point per game scorer. Like, if you got De'Aaron Fox, you know, you might not say he's top 5 point guard, but he can outplay one in a game. You know what I mean? Like, he's no slouch, you know, for sure. And, you know, they just have a great all-around team that it just doesn't feel like they have a weakness. Like, I really do feel like that. And if there's any weakness, they got enough to cover up for it. Like, they just are a really good team. I think I'm falling a lot more out of love with the Knicks as the season goes on. They just don't scare anybody. They're a good basketball team that I don't think has a crazy identity or anything to kind of lean to besides Jalen Brunson. I think Cat doesn't scare anybody. I think he's a great player, but I think teams just don't fear them, you know? They just don't. And they made the ECF last year, but it just feels like Detroit has just absolutely punked them most of this regular season. They lost a lot to Cleveland, and I'm just not as sold on the Knicks this year. I'm just not as sold on them as I once was. I think, you know, if they mess around and get hot, you know, in the next coming weeks and really start to show up and, you know, JB really start playing like he damn near the MVP, then maybe I could kind of hop back on that train. But to me, I think it's just Detroit against the field. I think Detroit in the 7-game series, they're just going to beat you up so bad, and Cade is just getting better that good luck. You know what I mean? I think the other team, I think, with Detroit that I think gives them a run for their money to get out the East is Boston. I don't know why I'm just higher on Boston than I am on any other team in the East. I just feel like Cade versus Jaylen Brown with those supporting cast. You know, JB has Derek White and Peyton Pritchard to help out. He has a good set of role players who know their role, and the way JB is just leading the crew, I just trust them. I don't know why. Like, JB, he's an NBA Finals MVP. He's playing lights out, and the guys they got around him, they just are doing good at their job. They're exceeding expectations, and I'm just not sold on Cleveland. You know, I've seen this story last year. James Harden is hurt now, so we'll see how that affects them. But they just haven't looked like the Cleveland that they were last year. And to me, that team was dominant, best team in the East, and then it got to the playoffs and they folded, and now they're not having as good of a regular season as they were expected to. You traded your starting point guard for James Harden, you know, but they did get better around the margins. You know, they definitely got 2 good role players with Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis. So they got something. Like, they definitely cooked at the trade deadline. I'm not going to dispute that. I just don't know if who they got is enough to convince me that this team is going to make it out the East. Personally, I just haven't seen enough. They could be a good regular season team and get to the second round, but I feel like Detroit's better than them. Like, they're just better than them, especially in the playoff setting. I just don't trust James Harden or just Cleveland in general. So, yeah, that's kind of just what I feel like at the end of the week in the NBA. That's just kind of how I feel. But I think this upcoming week is going to be interesting. There's going to be some good games in this upcoming week, so we're definitely going to see what they got cooking up for next week and talk about it next week. So any NBA topics y'all got, man, send them in. Send them in. All right. Now it's community Q&A time. I posted a post on my story a couple of days ago. So I'm gonna wrestle with somebody. I said wrestle. I'm gonna answer some of these, give a shout out, and hopefully we get some more next week to do this to end out the episodes. All right, so I got some questions from my man Dean. Goals for 2026. Goals for 2026, they definitely have changed. I think I had a very different idea of what 2026 will look like, but I think goals for 2026, man, I think definitely just keep growing. I don't have a specific goal anymore, just in terms of what do I look like at the end of the year. I just think I'm just going to be in a better position. That's kind of just the biggest goal. I want to be smarter. I want to be, maybe working. I definitely want to work a new job by then. I want the podcast to be more. I want the podcast to have grown by the end of the year. Yeah, like that's kind of it. And I just want to. I want to have a bigger book collection by the end of the year in terms of books I finished this year. Like everything for me is just. I just want improvement. I think that's just what's kind of giving me peace. It's just I just want improvement. I don't think there's anything direct I need to work towards. It's just let's just improve every day. You know what I mean? Because if we're just improving, that's going to add up. And then by the end of the year, we're going to be like, wow, we made a good amount of distance from January 2026 to January 2027. So I think that's kind of just the biggest thing. But I think just be happier. That's a big goal too, is to just do things that make me happy. I got a concert planned. I'm going to try to go to as much stuff that my friends throw or any event that I can get my hands on, just because I don't think life is meant to just be sitting around working 24/7. Man, it's meant to be enjoyed and experienced. So for sure, I'm going to just want to do more stuff. So that's really just the goal, honestly. What's next? Travel aspirations for this year. Same question from Dean. I would say travel aspirations, definitely New York. That's happening soon. I don't know when, but New York is for sure happening. I would say, I would definitely say Pennsylvania. I want to go to a Steelers game. And I think that's it. I think that's really it for me. I'll start off with those two states. If I knock those two off, that's a good year. Anything else after that is gravy. You know what I mean? If I make it to the West Coast this year, amazing. Maybe I will add Texas on there to go visit my man's Caleb. But those are kind of like the main things. I don't really have such a rush to go worldwide right now. I think or maybe Puerto Rico. I don't know if that would happen this year, but definitely in the future. Mexico right now is not looking too hot over there, so I probably won't be in Mexico for a while. But I would definitely say Puerto Rico. I think those are probably the more realistic ones. I think New York is happening for sure. But Pittsburgh, I'm hopeful, and Puerto Rico, Texas, I think, are realistic. I think those are definitely possible to do. So I would just say those are probably what I got in terms of travel aspirations for this year. The seeming fraud of college. Y'all know me. I think the overall system of college is a fraud. I think it's a scam for real. I just think the cost of a degree does not equal what you're getting back into it. And I think that's way too high of an investment that's not producing the results for the price. And to make it that expensive, but also make it a requirement that doesn't guarantee you results at what could be $100,000 a year just is fucked up. You know what I'm saying? And they know that even if you get that degree and get that job, because it's so expensive, you probably pulled out a student loan, and now any money you do make, you're giving it right back to somebody. It's a scam, bro. Like it's a scam. And it's, now the job market is rough, and it's not going to get any better with the growth of AI. And I think anybody now knowing how society works a lot more, who couldn't see that coming? You know what I mean? Shout out to my man Jeremiah. He said you should talk about generational ignorance, like stuff that, and we actually talked about this in the DMs because I was kind of like, I wonder what he means by that. So the point of his question was break down things our parents, uncles, or even we believed that were just wrong. And I think it's an interesting topic, right? Because I do think that there are things that we grew up being told or learning when we were younger that now being older we know happens to be wrong. I just think the biggest thing with that is just that we have more information than ever. You know what I mean? Like we have phones that we can find out the answer to any question in literally 2 seconds. You know what I mean? We still have the accessibility and the ever expanding accessibility to books that sometimes the past generation doesn't have and never had a chance to experience and or just didn't take advantage of. So I think sometimes it is kind of like you wish that the older generation would open their eyes more to what we think and know because of the fact that now we have the more information, the more research, the more data to kind of make conclusions about stuff, the more you would hope that they will be open to it, to also doing it too. Because I think there's a lot of things now that you kind of hear from the older generation where it's almost like even if they just did a little research, they would know that this is why it's that. Like I have a lot of respect for my parents because they don't look at my current situation and be like, okay, it's because you were bullshitting or you're not doing what you're supposed to do. I think my dad just has enough knowledge to just know, hey, the job market sucks. You graduated college. You applied to as many places as you could. It's not your fault you don't have a job. To a lot of people out there, they might have parents that's like rushing to get them out the house and forcing them to pay a ridiculous amount of rent or wondering how come you don't have your own place, and they don't understand that the housing market is absolute trash. These houses are 3 times more money than they were when they were coming up. You know what I'm saying? Like a 2-bed house is damn near like $1 million. I'm just sizing, of course, but it's expensive, bro. It's expensive, and our money hasn't really changed that much for us to be able to afford the prices of these houses for real. So it does suck that, it does feel like there is kind of more of a knowledge gap between the older generation and us. To just give myself a peace of mind, and I have to do it, is just the fact that I feel like we have more access to knowledge than they do. And I think we're more seekers of knowledge than they are because we just have the information and we can just find it so easily that now we're able to kind of unlearn things and make new conclusions to stuff and are going through different issues than they are. But for them, they're still kind of stuck in the 90s or the 80s or some shit. It's tough. It is tough, but ain't much we can do. One last one for the community questions. We got my man Junior. He said, you should revisit some old Kendrick. Been listening to Overly Dedicated a lot lately. I would say my hot take for this episode, Kendrick Lamar EP to me is a better project than Overly Dedicated to me. I think the rapping on both tapes, I think is pretty like even. I think you can make a case for either one that the rapping is better. But I think Kendrick Lamar EP is just a better put together album. I think the narrative in it of Kendrick being a young rapper from Compton at 21, and having these desires and these goals to make it and accomplish this goal while also mixing in introspective tracks like Faith and Wanna Be Heard and Uncle Bobby and Jason Keaton. I think those type of songs on there that he had on there, and then finishing off with like Let Me Be Me, it's a really well put together album from him. Vanity Slave, another kind of introspective track. He covered a lot of topics and thoughts about being a young rapper from Compton and having this goal to make it, the desire, having the work ethic, and hoping that the path you take, because it's so different, will still get you success. Because while everybody's talking about the same stuff of getting money and sleeping with women and doing drugs, I'm actually going to talk about the issues of the world and be, I'm going to talk about the issues of the world so that the world would be a better place. I think that's why I love Kendrick. So I would say the EP is better, but that's just my take. But Overly Dedicated is fire. I mean, there's some good tracks on here. Average Joe is probably one of my favorite ones. HOC, Cut You Off. Some of the tracks on here is from the EP. She Needs Me is just a remix, and PNP was just PNP, but like they got 1.5, so it's added stuff on there. But nah, for sure. I mean, Kendrick Lamar EP is dope. I mean, Overly Dedicated is dope. But, the Kendrick Lamar EP, I wish it was on streaming because I think y'all will be blown away by how good that joint is, But that is it for this episode, man. Thank you guys for listening, man. Please follow please follow the Instagram pages, man. In the Mind of Dame and that X-Boy X Dame. Follow the TikTok, that X-Boy X Dame. I'm gonna try to get more active on there too. And I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. Peace.